I'm going to be talking about vaccines and their potential for use in this COVID-19 outbreak. Along with public health interventions like clean water and sanitation, vaccines have been one of the most important ways of protecting people against infectious diseases, preventing both illness and death. Now, vaccines can be used in two ways. You can either give it to somebody after they've been infected or before they have been exposed to prevent them ever getting infected. Now, if you give a vaccine after somebody's been infected, a common vaccine that is used in this way is rabies. You have to give it for a disease where there's quite a long interval between being exposed and developing symptoms, so the vaccine has time to work and protect that individual. But most vaccines are given to prevent an individual becoming infected in the first place. And they can be used in different ways. So, for instance, with the Ebola outbreak, the cases were very obvious and contacts of those cases could be vaccinated, and so were healthcare workers. Sometimes if there's an outbreak in a very defined population, like meningitis in a school, you can vaccinate the school population. In the case of smallpox, again, where cases were very obvious, it was possible to vaccinate everybody in the locality, what's called ring vaccination, to prevent the smallpox virus escaping into the rest of the population. Mostly vaccines are used, the common vaccines are used to vaccinate those in the population who are both susceptible but most likely to transmit the disease. And the idea behind this use of the vaccine is that you can actually interrupt transmission of the infection in the population and thereby protect people who themselves haven't been vaccinated. Well, as I mentioned before, vaccines protect in two ways. They can protect an individual directly by giving them immunity to the infection, but they can also indirectly protect other individuals through something called herd immunity. If enough individuals are vaccinated, then transmission of the infection in the population can be reduced or even eliminated. In order for a vaccine to interrupt transmission, you have to make sure that the reproduction number is less than 1. That is, every infectious individual has a probability less than 1 of infecting another individual. Under those circumstances, the disease will die out as a result of the vaccination program. Despite the huge protection and benefit from vaccination, there is no vaccine that gives 100% protection to all individuals for their entire life. In fact, some diseases, natural diseases, can recur and you can get reinfections. So we talk about a vaccine efficacy, and by this we mean how much protection an individual who has been vaccinated will get if they are exposed. And most vaccines that are used give well over 90% protection. Well, there's a huge amount of effort by scientists around the world to develop vaccines very rapidly. And the approach generally is to look for the viral proteins on the outside of the virus that are responsible for the virus attaching to and entering the human cell. And if you can make protective immune responses against these viral proteins, that would be the basis of a vaccine. So a lot of candidate vaccines are being developed based on this outer viral proteins, and it is possible to generate them in the laboratory without having to extract them from the virus. After that, the candidate vaccine, composed of these viral proteins, has to undergo very stringent testing before it can be used at a population level. You would like to have evidence that they actually protect humans in the field, but under emergency circumstances like Ebola and COVID-19, it would be possible to proceed to its field use without having done a large study to demonstrate that it works. Under those circumstances, it would of course be important to monitor as carefully as possible the safety and effectiveness of the vaccine under field use. Now, while the scientists are busily developing the vaccine and trying it out in small studies in humans, it is also necessary to find a way of scaling up vaccine production so you can make millions of doses that will be needed to really affect transmission or protect a large number of vulnerable people. It's very unlikely that all of these stages are going to be completed in time to interrupt transmission or protect vulnerable individuals as the COVID-19 virus takes off in the next few months. But coronaviruses generally are seasonal, and it may be that we will see a peak and then a drop-off in infections with a return and a second wave or subsequent waves in future years. Now, under those circumstances, if vaccine is available at that time, then it could be used. And the issue is, who would it be used on? Has the virus changed its structure so that the vaccine last year looks a bit different from this year? We'll need a lot of information to understand what is the most effective and efficient way of using a vaccine if COVID-19 is still being transmitted at the time it's available.